For sure, we're back. We should be starting up soon. I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, what are we doing? We're gonna flip the power of the internet on. We're flipping the power of the internet on. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, look at there we are. We got the internet going. That's cool. That's cool. I think I had to edit something. What did I have to edit? I don't know, guys. I don't know. But we are back. I have to update the thumbnail. So I'm gonna go update the thumbnail. I'm talking on today's stream. Top reasons. Top reasons I am not a blah 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 blah. Top reasons I'm not a MAGA Republican. Rich guy talks top reasons. Don't vote MAGA Republican. But while you guys are tuning in, let's remember that, yeah, even in his limited wisdom, when Plato was talking in the Republic, society and government was good, which means you're allowed to not start or not end, but have within your political somewhere, somewhere you're allowed to say whether or not your political opinion is good or not. Does it lead to what would for your opinion to be good for everyone? What would it mean for it to be good in the moment? Good for you in the moment, and therefore good. Just it's legitimate. It's legitimate. Where do and here's also like more contemporary political philosophy, guys, right? You don't have to listen to Donald Trump talking about ballrooms and blowing up farmers and fishermen all around the world and assume this is good. Assume this constitutes a national security threat. One of my old fake Navy SEAL buddies, right? I'm a fake Navy SEAL. One of my old fake Navy SEALs buddies would say, "Wow, you sure are an idiot." You listen to this guy who is currently spending millions and millions of dollars on salaries, tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars on equity exits, and billions of dollars on the military. Part of $1 trillion spend. So he knows what he's doing, and he's telling you that blowing up fishermen and blowing up farmers in places you've never been, people without GEDs, people without lower levels of education, are good people. Crazy stuff, right? This is a good thing to do. Yeah, these are great people. These are the best people. Um, so you win an Idiot of the Year award prize. But I'm not even going there, right? If we stick on the philosophy topic, if we stick to Plato's Republic, and we say, well, what evolved out of this? What evolved out of these early, even Abrahamic urges toward, King David's told to build a oaken house, right? And it's so important. It's actually so complicated. God changes his mind once talking to King David. Yeah, God's prophet is talking to King David, and I forget, he says something or another, and then he comes back and he goes, forget this. We've told you, King David, to do something wrong in politics. Actually, go build an oaken house. This is the real one, right? This is the real thing, right? Build something sturdy and enduring, King David. Yeah, and so even God changes his mind. So I'm not telling you you have to have all the answers, or I would, because whatever. I'm a Democratic voter. I don't know what it is. I've got no clue. Right? But when we get down to the core of it, yeah, and then Jesus also gets involved in the action, right? Muslims may know this as well. Democrats may know this. Jesus gets he just gets mad. He says, "Yeah, this organized church thing, we got to go flip these tables over." And then he goes, where does he spend his time? He spends his time with the naked, the hungry, the sick, the poor. And he says, "Yeah, these Roman fellers, these Pharisees, just the local people in our area, right? Caesar isn't some king. Caesar isn't some king. When we look at the Caesar, when we look at the actual currency, there's no help coming for these people, and it appears Jesus, as some mystical author of reality, has levels of access to what? Yeah, it's not Washington D.C. Jesus doesn't have access to the highest politics happening in the land. Jesus has access to those around him. Weird, right? Weird story. And so for good parts of church history, what happens is largely people come together and reject this narrative that you have these nationalist patriarchal arcs coming from Christianity. But that's still not me. Why I, as a rich white dude, vote Democrat. Eventually get Plato, guys. I'm gonna put the poll up. Give me a second. I just need to type this out. Um, and then we'll get real focused, guys. And then we'll get real focused. All right, guys. I think I opened a poll question. You guys can hit me up in chat too. Say what's up to your buddy Duck. You guys can say what's up to me. And yeah, do we? Thank you, Pinky Lover. Thank you. Yeah, and so political philosophy becomes formalized at some point. At some point, we're not dealing in parables. We're not dealing in just wow. As we circumnavigate life, we navigate and circumnavigate problems and poverty, right? Poverty. That's a pretty instant slap in the face political question. How does the church deal with the poor? How do politicians deal with or support the poor? Is politics a place for people who have less than others? Is politics a place for, is there such a thing as the global poor? Is there such a thing as a local poor? This isn't critical or woke or classist politics because, as far as I can tell, let's just imagine you have less than me. I'm a rich white guy. I've been told. So cool. I'm a rich white guy. I'm doing so well. I can just wake up and wear a t-shirt. It doesn't really matter. That's why I look like this, Pinky, by the way. I look like this because I can just wake up and do whatever I want. But does this make me part of some like group? If I was a poor person, does this make me look like I'm part of some group around the world of just poor people that get together and hang out and, oh, we're gonna do poor guy stuff, right? We're gonna do poor guy stuff. Let's see. Somebody's message is getting blocked. Hey, Randy, comb your hair. Comb your hair. I don't have to. I'm rich. I don't have to comb my hair. I'm rich. Randy showing up in chat telling me to comb my hair. William says politics is the ultimate equalizer. Hell yeah. That sounds cool, right? I like it. If it sounds like a movie, I'm probably down. Let me go see. This is why I'm rich, guys. I'm gonna suit stuff out. I tried to put William's comment up. Didn't even work. I'm going to make this real nice for you. I feel like today, William is chat. You guys are manly men today. So let's do some red. Let's do some bright red so you guys can see this. Hell yeah, brother. There we go. Politics is the ultimate equalizer, says William Ford. Let's go. Yeah, Mo Power, that's completely based on nothing. That's completely based on nothing. Donald Trump is pushing. So you're the person Mo, I think you're the type of person I was talking about. Your political beliefs are the ones I'm curious about. Not that you have to share them, but you are sharing them. But yeah, Donald Trump. So, I mean, very simple, same argument. Donald Trump blows up fishermen and farmers and tells you this is good. This is what the good of politics is about, Mo. The good of politics is about if you don't know who someone is, but you know they're a farmer, they're a terrorist, the person who is simultaneously spending not millions of dollars, but not billions, but trillions of dollars on oil, energy, gas, and war weapons, right? Who is telling you to blow up these farmers in order to spend more money, and it's cheaper than attacking a government. This is the good guy. This is the bad guy. What are you talking about? Trump didn't bring $19 trillion back. And Donald Trump's biggest failures cost way, way more in the long run and the short run. Biology is also funny, right? Math is funny. Math, the subset of disciplines in math is funny. Computational science is funny, Mo. There's lots of things that are funny. I don't see. Hey, what's going on, DA? Good to see you. I don't see wasting, killing people and wasting money as funny. Handsome man, tell me more. Yeah, neat room. I'm rich. I'm a rich white guy. I was told by chat yesterday I have to be a rich white guy. So that's who I am now. So who I am now as a rich white guy, I will put up my rich white guy goal. If you guys want to support the stream, big, small, little super chats, etc., doing funny stuff. Yeah, do that. So here we go. I just put up a super chat goal for you guys. Please don't be condescending. Please don't be stingy. You guys know where your wallets are. There's a super chat goal up. So you guys want me to be rich. You guys want me to stay rich. Hey, I love money. I love cash, right? That's how I got here. That's how I got here. And I'm asking you guys today, as a rich white guy, what are the top reasons I am not a Republican MAGA voter? You guys, that may surprise you. You guys see rich white guy, you guys are thinking this guy's got to support Donald Trump. But no, I got this picture up. Let me let's see. We ain't even stuck in our ways, folks. We ain't even stuck here. We didn't even get past Plato yet. We're talking about Jesus. We're talking about King David, Melchizedek, right? Very famous Elohim, right? Yahweh. This is what we're talking about in politics now. We're talking Jesus, Elohim, Melchizedek, Pharisees. We're talking Plato and the Republic. We're talking Socrates, bruh. Yeah, was Socrates, here's a question for you guys. Was here, you guys can go do Google research, get off the channel, go be a rich white guy. Was Socrates forced to renounce or recant his citizenship? Was Socrates forced to say he's not a good Greek guy? What do you guys think? Socrates was or was not forced to renounce his Greek citizenship? I'm from Arizona in the Southwest US. Shake a can of spare change when you beg. Hey, no, I'm rich. Let me make sure you know this. Where do we go? Dang, dude. I'm even getting... What's the picture? The picture today, we have we have another rich white guy, two rich white guys. We've got MAGA Donald Trump and Jeff Epstein. So the unfortunate part is what, right? Who cares? I don't care, because as a rich white guy, I don't think you should judge people if they have money. I think that you should be willing to know what they know, and they should also be willing to know what it's like to, right? You know, I remember there was a couple weeks in my life where I wasn't incredibly wealthy and white, and I remember what that was like. And so I think that you know, other rich guys like me should know what it's like to be down there with you guys. You know, you guys are in chat, you guys are grinding it out. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate it. And so yeah, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. Here you guys go. I think this is like on par with where you guys are at. You guys need to see this. You know, if I'm up here, I'm up here. I love e-girls. You guys love e-girls too. Didn't Socrates die poor and an outcast? I don't know. I told you to go research it, May. I told you guys can go open your freaking Google browser. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, right? I ain't some Brahmin guy telling myths and pretending like I got something when I don't. Get out of here, guys, right? Welcome to the United States. Who cares? I was told by you guys. To be a rich white guy. So what are the top reasons for me, for Duck, the host of Ducks why as a rich white guy am I not voting as a MAGA Republican? Why as a rich white guy am I not voting as a MAGA Republican? You guys got to tell me, right? You guys got to be able to clarify. I already said one reason. I said that Donald Trump is paying billions. He's paying billions of dollars for these missiles we don't need. And he's paying millions and tens of millions in salaries and equity bonuses. And I already said this, right? You talk to somebody who's a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley or in New Delhi, it doesn't matter, right? You talk to a Chinese business magnate, you talk to a politician in the European Union, they're telling you that the idiot in that scenario is the person who still believes nationalist politics, right? You have Donald Trump rises to the top of Moron Mountain. He voices this MAGA desire, wish to make America great again. That doesn't mean anything, right? Donald Trump says something that does not mean anything. Yeah, and Michael Hacker's right. You become indoctrinated. You're forced and told to listen to people. Why do you listen to people? Why would you listen to people who are telling you why they're spending their money if they're lying to you? Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. What's an e-girl? An e-girl is a content creation style, right? It's not a person. So you're right, May. May's got this down right. Let's just make let me make you sure you say this. You're right. All right, you're right. Um, Trump is a terrorist. Yeah, we don't need to say something like that. We don't need to say something like that. That Trump is a terrorist. I appreciate you saying it, but I think it's enough. It's strong enough to say Donald Trump lies to you, right? He's not helping. Oh, thank you so much. William sends the high five. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Huge, huge, huge. Thank you. Huge thank you, William. But yeah. So no, we don't need to use extreme rhetoric. We can say something that's very true and accurate, like the guy that's paying millions in Wall Street bonuses and telling you blowing up farmers and blowing up fishermen is somehow these are terrorists. These are the bad guys. And it's just the cheapest way. It's the cheapest way to convince Congress, convince America to print more money to print more bombs. No king's protest. Must we live in England? I don't really totally know what that means as a rich, as a wealthy, as a well-to-do equity investor, as a wealthy white guy with a career in both technology as well as kind of this nouveau manufacturing segment we're seeing all over the place. I don't know what it means to have no kings or that we have to live in England. Oi, 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 Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. Yeah, if you do have kings anywhere, right? If you have guys chat, if you guys have kings anywhere, I think you guys have to go back to political philosophy once again then. Politics is about the good life, guys. I'm not trying to indoctrinate you, but get it through your head. Go research this if you need to. It's not about whether the man Plato or the man Socrates had to drink the hemlock, did he renounce his citizenship? Did he just did he say he didn't act like a good little schoolboy? I don't know what he said. Um, but why wouldn't if we're talking about Donald Trump is blowing people up and these are just terrorists that he picked out on a map so he can print more money to keep up with other people in the world printing money or whatever the next excuse is. Um, you know, like how is this right? If you feel uncomfortable, you should. How is this a good thing, guys? How is this a good thing in the slightest? I'm incredibly wealthy. I want you guys to internalize how rich I am. I want you to internalize how much more than you I have. I don't depend. You guys, we saw a very generous high five gift on YouTube. I don't depend on you guys for money. I depend on you guys to be lolcows. I depend on you guys to laugh. I depend on you guys gooning in your spare time about the things that I talk about here. Those are the things I ultimately depend upon. You know? Um, and so I just want to be, again, just to be very clear that there are people here that we can't get past square one, where you believed that when Donald Trump was carrying out a blood oath from the year 1987, he was talking about the same reality and world that we're living in today. Donald Trump was talking about the same world and reality we were living in today when he carried out a blood oath from 1987. What? I mean, none of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. Um, and yeah, and it is bad, and you guys should feel a little bad about it. I abstain from the poll, says almost high. Yeah, so let's get to the questions, guys. We've got 18 votes, which I like, right? 18 is the year of consent in the United States. By definition, legally, and as a rich white guy, I appreciate you guys saying that. So the top reasons I'm not a Republican MAGA voter, 11% believe about me that it's because Enron stole money and did something. This is a U.S. Economic story. So how do you guys feel about people buying and selling your power cables, buying and selling your energy? This is what Enron did, right? This is in an honest sense. It seems like it sounds very stupid. If you make money, like I understand if you make money manufacturing, you guys make money manufacturing new MREs or new food for the troops, right? Why do we have stealth helicopters and bombs for the troops when most people around the world are happy with food for the troops? Most people are happy with Harvard graduates for the troops. Um, but we don't invest in better MREs, better tasting Thai food. We invest in bombs. And so Enron, in some sense, in their heart and soul, invested in bombs. They said that we can go to California, we can go to California, we can go up to Oregon, we can go to Washington, and these guys are such idiots. They're going to let us trade on energy, and it's wild, right? We see blackouts, we see rolling blackouts, we see little widow wampuses, little kids that mommies are trying to get ready for school, not have electricity. You know, in the summer months in California, it can get hot, and these little kids don't have electricity. They already have all these other problems too, right? Can you get vaccinated? Maybe Uncle Sam's not going to pay for it. Okay, so you cannot get vaccinated this year. So less people are vaccinated because of you. Handle likes the disco duck. Um, cool. Yeah, I'll throw the disco duck back on in just a second. Yeah, it's great. I like dollar bills. Do you think the $250 Trump bill will be produced, or it's another hype brand? It's very stupid. I saw Congress coming back and saying that Trump can't rename the Department of War. So I thought that was pretty funny. Um, the old Democrat Party, they're like a current conservative Republicans. Yeah. There it took a long time for people to internalize that Keynesian spending measures were an effort in modernity. But this is outside, right? Maybe a good way to position how nationalists think, how nationalist politicians conceptualize problems, right? They climb themselves to the top of Moron Mountain, and then from the top of Moron Mountain, it's wondering what is an efficient path forward in idiot world, right? It's very strange. It's a very strange phenomenon or thing. And so, like old Democrats were we've always had an anti-revolutionary spirit. And this isn't like American nativism. It's just the nature of what the law is like. The law takes a long time to change, and so um, you know because the law takes a long time to change, I don't know if I have an excuse that I'm offering to not answer your question. Um, but yeah, go to where people were making money, and expediency has always been valuable. Expediency, guys, know the term. Know the term, please. Enron defrauded their stock. Trump worked at McDonald's. Yeah, Enron used both pension schemes. So they sold stock to pensioners. They sold Enron stock. They sold Enron stock to funds and pensions, and they used employee stock trading plans to bolster the stock price. They told Enron employees when to stay in and when not to, and they sold out to pension funds. So one of the arguments or disagreements against Enron is that, yeah, if 80% of your stock, or even if 80% is held by executives and is held by the public markets, if 20% is held by employees and these pension funds, you can convince people to not sell it, right? Not increase the supply in the market, or to go sell it when it's at its peak value and show people that this is a valuable asset. And that 20% can basically become weaponized, right? 20% of 100% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is enough to fix the pricing mechanism in some world. And so when we see that insider trading happens at the level of employee stock trading plans, and then you get lies outside of Enron about how it's actually going, you see accounting lies, so people can't even see through it. One imagines that what Enron actually was it wasn't a small, it was a large insider trading scheme, but it was based on neoconservatism. It was based on this idea that if you are an American, you are allowed to, right? This is how exceptional America is, guys. I want to make this clear to you guys. Um, I want to make this, whoops, I want to make this really clear to everybody here. Um, Hold on. I want to flip a picture out for you guys too. I want to make this clear that the story that George Bush, and the story now that Donald Trump is telling, that if you are an American, you are so exceptional that you can take up on a problem like energy on all by your lonesome. You can hire accountants, even if you're so stupid that the first thing you do is you hire a team of accountants to solve your energy trading, right? however it works, the asset class is that there's these secondaries, or you're actually betting directly on the supply and the flow of energy. You're betting on the grid. You're betting on the grid. So that's how it is. Just, if it's hard for you to understand, it's because it's that stupid. But you can hire accountants to do this, right? You can hire finance guys. And when you're talking about demand actually being at the level of, little kids, you're talking about demand at the level of hospitals. You're talking about CFOs out in society, other rich white guys like me having to plan around your dumb ass, right? You, at the end of it, the side that we see is that Enron was basically betting that this product was going to be good, and they also lied to India, right? Enron has a was a they were like they wanted to build these power plants in India that they knew no one could pay for, but they wanted to get paid for it. They wanted to close the deal. They wanted to tell people they won these Indian power plants. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And so, instead of, right, this is the delusional logic of MAGA Donald Trump and neoconservatives, people that think we've been Americans since 1776, and being an American is just like it sounds, right? It's when they tell you that you can blow up a patch of cucumbers and you're making God and country and Uncle Sam proud of you. You're keeping the little white girls safe at home. You're keeping the folks at home safe and entertained because you're blowing up rice paddies, right? Because of this reason, to me, this is the delusional nature of stuff, guys. India is American puppet, I think. There's a billion people, right? If you want a conspiracy theory, I don't know how you would fit it in with a billion people. Jesus, man, I'm telling you. Yeah, go back to Socrates again, right? Let me support Western values in a real sense. Somebody says India is an American puppet in chat. Okay, so if we start with the first political philosophy texts, we start with the earliest political philosophy writings from Plato, later into Aristotle. If we talk about, it's possible that society and politics is about the good life, and boy, when you see it, it doesn't matter if you have $1 billion or $1. It doesn't matter if you have $1 billion or 10 cents. It doesn't matter if you're in a slum or you're living in UAE, Dubai, or Martha's Vineyard. When you see it, you're not going to be very happy. You're not going to be tolerant forever. And other people recognize that and they're going to support you, right? We're all in it together. There's no one coming to save you. But at the end of it, there are people who just don't put up with idiots forever. There are people who don't put up with idiots ad infinitum. Um, uh, you know, to me, I don't see it as like fertile ground. I don't see it as, I would say, fruitful. Here we go. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back. I'm back. If you guys, by the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I've got videos up on my page and stuff like that too. I got videos on my page, etc., whatnot. So, but yeah, just let me know. You guys might be pleasantly surprised, but yeah, but there's not a conspiracy theory involving a billion people. You can just say, I'm done believing your lies. You can say, you lied to people. I see you just wanted to get rich. Um, where did Enron start and stop, though? Where does Enron start and stop? Enron starts with the fact that the US and other wealthy states, wealthy countries, including China, including Russia, right? The worst of enemies, according to Donald Trump. These evil, the worst guys you could ever imagine. These companies start because you can buy enough zinc and copper and gold and palladium and whatever it is, right? You can buy enough of these rare earth minerals. You can buy enough oil, and you're printing money off the back of other people. Hey, that's the reality. And in the big scale of the cosmic universe, and you've got a billions of people who are, maybe 1.5 billion people around the world who are really deep consumers in the liberal market. And then you've got the rest, right? So the West and the rest, where you've got a bunch of consumers. There is probably some level where, yeah, you want to sell your products. You want to sell things in a scenario that you voted for. Um, Yeah, hey Zettelbro, stop blowing up farmers, dude, right? I'm a rich white guy. I'm richer than you. I have more money than you. I'm always going to have more money than you. And so if you vote for MAGA Donald Trump, um, I think that you're accepting a murder narrative. I'm not saying you personally, but I think you're listening to a guy making millions in stock deals, telling you who you got to kill next, who the cheapest person to kill is from the position of the presidency. Can you explain that, Deutscher? By the way, can you explain that? I need a little. I need you to expound on this for me. Please expound. Please do. Please clarify where in my head I got something wrong here. Bozer, Ruschland, Deutscher. Yeah. Explain what you're contributing here. Um, But where are we going? Yeah. So, but here's the wild part. If we think that liberal, this is why I like Francis Fukuyama. He's not Plato, right? He's not Aristotle. He's not writing about a corrupt and a good form of democracy. He's just talking about our empirical version of liberal democracy. He's a fine guy. I'm not telling you to go read The End of History. Don't believe we're all going to be liberal democratic voters. We're all going to have fancy bank accounts and stuff like this, but you can read his writing and try to understand what it means. Um, and in this view, to view that there are 1.5 billion people perfectly happy to buy MP3 players, perfectly happy to buy backpacks. What is it that MAGA is actually fighting about? MAGA is actually upset that the 15% of people on Earth maybe see that it is absurd. There is a line in the sand. There's too much is too much. There's too much of the capital and wealth that comes out of it is too much. That we need more Bretton Woods and neo-Hobbesian style diplomacy. We need more diplomacy that allows others to get ahead when they cannot do so otherwise. Tortas, que hondas, way. TDS equals libtardation. Come on, bro. We all have. Yeah, we all have, we don't need you abusing people. We don't need the abusive language in chat. I'm pointing out that you're being lied to at this time. I'm pointing out that you have corrected the world in order to fit what the world in your head is. If you're still listening to the guy profiting off of the cheapest form of violence, Iran is just the weakest, smallest country. We see Iranian president resign recently too, guys. We've seen Iranian presidents resign recently. To me, that means something. To me, that's important. To me, it's important that Donald Trump has proved exactly what he wants to prove, that the U.S. can pay for our wars. We can pay for world wars that happen without a single whisper, without one person saying it. And we can do so at the expense of other nation states. That's horrible. That's horrible. You believe that? You're buying that hook, line, and sinker? Enron's just the start. Enron and us wanting to buy new fancy little mini AI i9 computers made by Intel and Nvidia. We want the most upgraded graphics chips. We want to be able to run 4K on the latest games. And so at the expense of little kids having a place to charge their cell phone, at the expense of us all learning that, yeah, if you buy a laptop or a cell phone, this maybe is going to be the tool or device that you're going to have working for you for a while. These are hard truths for us to accept, that, yeah, it doesn't change that much, but it does. It's a little cognitive flip. It's a little cognitive change. It is something that sits just outside. If we're in Shenandoah, guys, you're in Shenandoah River. You have to look just past where you normally look, and you have to do so with King David and Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene in your heart. If you're looking at the three best friends walking around the Nazarene Valley, and you say, well, there's my political beliefs, right? There's politics happening for us in real time. This is where you guys actually come in. This is where we come in and we can say, hey, let's reset the board. Let's reset what the actual rules of the game are today. What is the logic? Guys, get back to political science thinking. This is how common this is. If you get a degree at a top US university, they will ask you, what is the logic, right? When you're talking about the way the world works. Donald Trump tells us that they're killing Christians in Nigeria. He wants to sell them more US military equipment. He doesn't care about the best security decision. He just cares that it's got Uncle Sam's, Uncle Duck, Uncle Nate's name stamped on it. Yeah, product of me, guys. And so I'm curious. I'm curious from my own perspective where you guys get off thinking that somehow this is a viable way to vote in a democracy. It doesn't make any sense to me, guys. It makes zero sense. And if I was me, I would be a little offended too. I'd be offended by it. Oh, Friedrich Nietzsche, yeah. Like existential. I saw someone talking about exit. I saw Professor Sunday talking about existential politics. Um, I don't buy it. I don't buy it that well. I think it puts a lot back in phenomenology. So phenomenology is the study in contemporary philosophy. It's the study of the both the phenomenal, sort of, in some sense it's the phenomenality of things. But then you eventually very quickly get into, well, what must the metaphysics be like that we experience things? And so, and the reason this is relevant in the modern era, why existentialists end up in the same camp being lumped together um, with phenomenologists, is because someone can look at Friedrich Nietzsche and say, well, this guy's just saying stuff. And maybe that's philosophy. This guy is writing like he's Jesus Christ, or like he's Abraham or Ismail, or, Israel. He's Papa, Big Papa Muhammad, peace be upon him. Friedrich Nietzsche is writing like he's any of these white dudes that just made stuff up and told you what to believe. And so I don't understand. My point is, I don't understand Friedrich Nietzsche's basis. I don't understand when and where his beliefs. This is as a political thought guy, as a political science guy. When Friedrich Nietzsche tells you something, when is it something you can evidence and adopt yourself? When Friedrich Nietzsche tells you something, when does it become something outside that you can know agnostically? Friedrich Nietzsche testifies that he's a great man. He's starting a newspaper company. Friedrich Nietzsche testifies like he's going to be the next Fox News contributor, the next big Fox News writer. When Friedrich Nietzsche tells you this, is this something you knew about Friedrich before? Is this something you know about an Ubermensch existentialist prior to him telling you this? Or when does it become a new idea? This is really important because we're a lot in the West, in the United States. We're very smart about this kind of stuff. If you see oil companies and people manufacturing two-way stuff, you see people building stuff for the military contractors telling you what they're doing and why, you would know why they're telling you that. You want to make money, and you're dealing with, at the top half of it, you're dealing with a big cheese wheel, and you want me to slice off a small piece and pretend like any white woman, getting white girl wasted and talking about terrorism is going to be the reason why we can spend money on this stuff, right? And this is the proper nomenclature and language, by the way. If you guys want to get white girl wasted and be smart, you can look at security studies. If you want to get white girl wasted and talk about terror threats, go to Reddit, right? Go to Reddit, go to 4chan, go to politics Discord. You guys already know where this stuff lives on the internet. Let's get white girl wasted and talk about, as rich people, talk about how scary the world is and what we must do about it. No, I'm not going to do that, right? That's my tax dollars, and that's you, and that's other people, right? Those are other people, and if I'm smart enough to ideate other ideas, I'm going to do so. I'm going to do so. But yeah, we're really good about talking about civil society, about factionalism. We're really good, usually in the West, about looking at people who are protesting federal spend. We're good at looking at people who are protesting misuse of Congress's time, misuse of the power of the purse, and saying, yeah, and people who have moral qualms, right? You're protesting go veganism, right? You're protesting for veganism. You're protesting for any number of things. We're usually good at discerning this, but for Friedrich Nietzsche and like the great man theories, where do you start asking when an idea falls out the boundary of what's acceptable and normative? If we know that there's competitive reasons based on institutions, based on the definition of democracy, so there's either things you can measure or there's these norms, and it's just what people are like today. Hegel, or empirical versions of norms, references to human nature, references to games, reference to what's possible in the world. It seems like Friedrich Nietzsche's for white supremacists, Friedrich Nietzsche for MAGA, Friedrich Nietzsche for people who are Christian existentialists and say, well, Nietzsche just was missing God, right? He was a godless atheist, but other than this, he knew what he was talking about. I do think there's a reason why it is used to spread propaganda, because nothing has to conform to like a very big worldview, worldview that connects you to like the hippie artist communes of Los Angeles, all the way to like, little dinky Etsy shops, 3D printing, weird stuff out of their home in Arkansas or whatever. You're 3D printing Marvel characters. So that's what I think about that. That's what I think about that. Um, let's see. Um, Yeah, and it's I mean, it's difficult because, when people ask us to do like mentally wrong tasks, and I know everything, right? There's some standard of good faith, guys. This is important for me to speak on, and it's maybe important for someone to hear this. But it's, some people ask us to keep an open mind, to stretch our mind to try to understand what they think, how they think about it, and what to believe. Cool. Yeah, Eastern Orthodoxy as a moral system. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I'm not trying to. My experience with Orthodoxy, with Orthodox Christianity as a moral system, is people often take Orthodox Christianity to be a moral system that expands to apply to all of the universe. It's more important than metaphysics, but it's not clear when, where, or why. I don't know if this is right, but yeah, cool. Congratulations. I I can support. I could religiously. I'm a former Catholic, so my Christian ethics have to do with human dignity, usually first and foremost, with apolitical or depoliticizing things. And we maybe have some common grounds and things like this. But yeah, cool. Yeah, Mark's here. Mark's here. So I don't know how that's moral, right? Mark, here's what I would disagree with you on. If you say, well, I do think it's either true or it isn't true that what you're doing here is saying, well, Mark's here and now Orthodox Christianity is in the room too. That's not the only way to introduce your own beliefs. That's not the only way to talk into the conversation. And so you're distracting the conversation. Mark is distracting the conversation about something that I have no interest in discussing, quite frankly. So would you respect that, right? Would you respect if I think Orthodox Christianity has absolutely nothing to offer in terms of political thought, political philosophy? It has nothing to do with events that happen in the world, right? Orthodox Christianity is not in the Enron boardroom, and it wouldn't solve it in the first place. But Mark is here. But yeah, but you're here, and there's Orthodox Christianity. So am I wrong? Are you splitting the difference with Mark and Orthodox Christianity? Like that's either true or false. That's either true or false. And tagging this along as it's part of a moral system, and that's the bigger thing that you're doing. So what? So what? I posted a picture of Animal Liberation by Peter Singer the other day. I posted pictures of some of my old textbooks I've read. I've posted funny commentaries. I've gone out into the swamplands. I think yeah. Yep. Justin from DZ on this channel. Only thing you're missing is the subscribers only mode. Cool. Yeah, Justin's all right. I like Justin. He's a very smart guy. I don't know why I would have to. You have an opinion on a person or people or something like that. So yeah. Yeah, but it's kind of like if we're trying to have a conversation, Christianity has shaped. So that's the only thing you're willing to talk about, though, right? That's not true. That's not true. We can scratch the surface on Plato's Republic just as a core text that people like. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you are a Christian existentialist or you are part of some Orthodox Abrahamic faith. You're an Orthodox Muslim, right? Mark, you're an Orthodox Muslim. You're an Orthodox Jew. You are an Orthodox. You follow Orthodoxy in Christianity. Maybe you follow some other very devout Orthodox sect of Catholicism or other Christianity, right? I would still say that if you study political thought, you should read Plato's Republic. And this is, and you're saying that Christianity will preclude us from talking about other conversations. Then define Western. Then no, I don't know why, but see, this is what you guys don't get is you guys don't have the right to, you guys don't get to drive the conversation. You guys can drive the conversation someplace else, but why don't we start with, if we're talking about Western thought, we can start with, I would say what everyone understands is Hammurabi's Code is the first time you have published laws that are, as far as we know, from an archaeological standpoint and historical standpoint, Hammurabi's Code is the first set of published laws everyone can look at, right? And then you have the legalistic, right? You have the legalistic notion of Greeks in Alexandria in Egypt. So you have texts and laws written in the Greek language, while you have Egyptian and North African languages writing many different types of manuscripts in Alexandria. And you're supporting a city of hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. And then we later get the Abraham, if I'm not incorrect, during this time there's some overlap, but then we get the start of Abrahamic faith traditions, right? Faith traditions, and they're taken to be legal. They're taken to be, in some sense, either oppositional or philosophically incompatible with bureaucratic notions that evolve later, that continue to evolve in this world. So Western civilization, maybe we can start with bureaucracy being grounded in language and the legal use of language. And let's start with that. Did you know that, Reyes? Did you know that that's what you were looking for, right? You're looking for me to serve you. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's your testimony. That's your testimony or something. Laws cannot serve as a moral compass. Okay. Yeah, it's very prescriptive and declarative, right? So Mark the strong man is telling us that laws cannot serve as a moral compass. That's not about jurisprudence, right? That's just about Mark. And so the correct way to, you're asking me for the correct way to do that, but you're still the one I'm speaking up to, if I'm getting this right, right? So I am still, let's see, Mark, am I speaking up to you? Let's speak across from each other. Let's have the conversation with your points across from one another. Laws cannot serve as a moral compass. I have no clue, you guys. This isn't like, this is stuff that would happen outside of your first class on politics. This is stuff that would happen. This is, we're at the wrong table at school and stuff, guys. I'm not trying to be degrading. I'm being honest about where we are, what we're talking about. I find the morals cool. Mark, no one gives a shit, right? I'm about to time you out. I'm about to time you out because you're proving that everything for you circles around Christianity. So, right, in if you came and did this, if you wanted to lecture in a political science class, if you wanted to lecture in a political philosophy class, if you wanted to lecture this, most people, and if you wanted to like go to give a talk at Google or a TED talk, they might say, well, why don't you introduce yourself as someone who's dogmatic and indoctrinated, right? So you're a dogmatist. You're not just orthodox, you're dogmatic and indoctrinated. Everything goes from and to Christianity. And so basically you reject different modes of thinking and evidences other places. And yeah, like there's no value or worth in you finding the moral system of Christianity in general logically sound, right? You want me to ask you about what that means, but why would I ask you that? Why would I care about what the moral system of Christianity in your view actually is if it is you finding it some way? Your dog medicine and the doctor needed it to your viewpoint. So what? You're dogmatic and the doctor, what? Yeah, Reyes, you got to fix that up, dude. You got to fix that up. So your argument, your point for me is, this is Reyes's point, is you are, so it's you are dog, so I am dogmatic and indoctrinated, needed it to your viewpoint, so needed it, so and indoctrinated, and I need my viewpoint. I don't know what that means. I don't feel I'm dogmatic. I don't feel I'm indoctrinated. Having a plethora of sources and different ways of, and see, there's no one here anymore, right? So this is what you guys wanted, is you guys wanted a private tutor time session. The majority of consent in the United States is 16. By law, is that moral? What? I'm not that kind of Christian. I'm just trying to have a debate. I wasn't trying to have a debate, really. I didn't really want to have a debate, but here we are. I didn't want to have this type of debate. You can ask me in the form of a question to fix it up first, and then I will fix it. What? I don't really care. I don't care. It's ideas in your own head which make zero sense in reality. I'm not a devout Christian, but I approve the moral. No one cares that a moral system, the word approve isn't a word that's often used in morality, I don't think. Or it is, right? Is that what we're going to argue and debate now, that things are approved or disapproved? What does that mean? I wouldn't imagine that means that much in contemporary philosophy or in the history of moral thought. And you're using the word approve next to best in the world. I don't know what that means. Would you not agree that the basis of your worldview, um, I have no idea what that means. I would have no idea what that means to you, right? So if you're asking me if my worldview supports different conceptions of morality, I'm not an Orthodox Christian, right? So I'm not an Orthodox Christian, and I think your view of Orthodox Christianity screams at people on the internet to adopt superstitions and witchcraft in lieu of moral reasoning. In lieu of moral reasoning, in lieu of moral precepts, in lieu of moral psychology, your religion screams at people to follow superstitions and witchcraft, which are responsible for death for 2 centuries. So that's what I would mean by that. I use logic to reach my, then that would be in my opinion. Right, you use logic, but your logic doesn't lead to inference. It doesn't distinguish between inference, between deduction. It doesn't create independence, right? Your worldview says there's all one thing. It's God's kingdom. This is either true or it isn't, right? This is, and if I'm being disingenuous, but this is what Orthodox Christianity is, or it is this on the internet. So you can clarify, right? Most people in their worldview can support inference. They can support the independence of different ideas and theories. Your worldview creates unifying, right? It creates a giant clump, which is God's kingdom, right? And yeah, that comes out to suck my dick, right? That comes out to you saying that because I have this big ball of whatever it is that is my worldview, you have to follow this. And it doesn't matter if reality doesn't comport to that. There's no independence of those ideas and beliefs. There's no independence of your ideas and beliefs. And so, hey, what's going on, Via? Good to see you. Religion provides a standardized, unchanging, outside of one's own mind. It eliminates more. Yeah, and so you're targeting very specific views that I haven't myself endorsed. And yeah, and which themselves would be separate conversations. So your worldview or your tactic here, it's one or the other, right? But your worldview or your tactic is saying that these ideas that are either deeply unpopular or deeply popular, whatever it is, these are somehow I can attack these, and it is like winning. It's like, or you're distinguishing your, again, your worldview somehow. You become, your unified worldview becomes distinguished as you start eliminating things, like a Navy SEAL, right? You know, Jocko Willenick was measured not by the color of his skin. You know, you can't make Whitey more white if you're a Navy SEAL. But you can ask, yeah, what's the actual kill count that gets back to, you know, the like operational debriefing or something. So you go out and you eliminate philosophical ideals, and then now this one big clump of Sky Daddy, as it's called, Sky Daddy clump is distinguished, and it's distinguished because it's logic doing this, right? So logic is this practical tool. I think I made it clear I'm not too much into the metaphysical. I'm more in. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So your worldview is more based on the avoidance, so avoidance, right? And so you use these words that are big too, right? To avoid something is usually this is something that is a complex function to avoid something. It's not commonplace. This is a casual conversation between us. So if we're avoiding something, you're avoiding something. You're always avoiding something because you have this big worldview, right? You've got this big idea that we have to unpack. You have this big idea that we have to unpack. So, but I don't take that to mean anything, right? Because logic, so your use of language is a debate tactic, or it's superficial, it's not substantive, there's nothing distinguished about it. But even though, guys, chat, I would point out it's a valid criticism of orthodoxy, it's a valid criticism of any worldview. If you're using big words like avoid, what does it actually mean? Why would you take for granted someone is telling you to avoid something? If someone's telling you to avoid something, it's not that it's controlling in as much as they're stating what reality must be like. They're stating what our perceptions and beliefs about that reality must be like. So it's not superficial if someone says avoid something to say, well, why? I'm at this point because you want me to emotionally or instinctually react to this term. That's your usage of language. Is this a debate or is this part of your philosophy and worldview? Right? It's very stupid. It's a tactic that dumb people use, and it's a way that dumb people actually think about the world. Right? We see Cam Higby, we see Charlie Kirk, we see Donald Trump. These are dumb people that if you have enough of the chess pieces at the top of the board, it doesn't matter what's happening in the rest of the world. Right? They want to avoid terrorists. They want to avoid terrorists in the rice and beans section. So they open ice facility detectors. They defund particle detectors. They defund relationships that connect Western states or dominant liberal states like the United States with other states around the world. They create artificial differences. They tell you to avoid drugs by blowing up farmers and fishermen, and it just sounds good, right? Avoid drugs, blow up farmers, blow up fishermen is what they tell you. They don't tell you they're getting these stock kickers back. They don't tell you that, yeah, we're not planning on doing this endlessly. This is at least now for the time being about our power plan. What do you think about human evolution? Yeah, evolution is I don't, specifically human evolution. I'm not a biologist, and it sounds like you're asking for a question within a specialized subset of evolution. But yeah, human evolution is interesting. The most important relevant for political thought, for politics, is that yeah, about 1 million years ago, we stopped being animals that lived in one place. About 1 million years ago, we became hypersocial and hypermobile. Humans have, for land mammals, humans have the highest endurance. Humans can outrun horses. Humans can outrun every single animal on Earth from an endurance standpoint. And so we were able to migrate socially, right? It's possible that we ran as tribes over great distances, hundreds of miles, right? Hundreds and maybe thousands of miles we maybe traveled and were able to migrate over periods of time. Um, so, yeah, it's interesting. Almost, I agree with you on the definition, but I don't agree with is moral relativism. Cool. Yeah. I mean, Mark, you're basically saying that you have the inability to be tolerant, right? You have the inability to be tolerant. And so if I say tolerance is for me is ultimately about mature grown adults looking at the peak of looking at what political thought is capable of, looking at what global order and what cultural distinctions in politics is about. What's good, right? What's good? What makes sense? What's the system doing? There's a lot of different ways. There's not one way. There's not one worldview. There's independent ways we can discuss things. And if for you that's a negotiation, right? I have to negotiate with you to basically not be a thought terrorist or something like this, you know, to not be a thought terrorist, then that's one way we would approach that. Um, but I don't know. maybe you are deeply educated, and I'm not giving you credit for being as educated as you are. But I would say where I would place that, Mark, where I would actually place your notion um of getting along or tolerance there is I have no clue what you're talking about still. You sound like a religious bigot. You sound like a dogmatist to me. Um, Not that I need to hold these deep beliefs, but if you have a point about that, my point is just the 9 billion people in the world, even large religious beliefs that want to teach kids that vaccines are dangerous. They want to teach kids that Tylenol causes autism. They want to teach kids that white supremacists trying to storm the Capitol wasn't an insurrection. So, Mark, you want to teach kids these things. You want to teach kids that you can have one great Christian scientist because God's on your side overcomes all of the domains and subdomains of science. You want to teach kids this. You want to teach kids to eat French fries fried in beef tallow. You want to teach kids that you can put donuts and fast foods back in school. You want to teach kids that they don't need preschool. You want to teach kids they don't need to socialize in secular lines. You want to teach kids to hate people from places that you're not from, right? So you want to teach kids to spread that hatred to places like Dearborn. You want to teach kids to hate people on your own borders. You want to teach kids to hate people that speak different languages. You want to teach kids to hate people based on a nonviolent legal problem like immigration. You want to teach kids to hate women when they're successful. You want to teach kids to hate all of these things. So you want to teach kids to hate separating theology and philosophy. You want to teach kids to hate cities like New York. You want to teach people to hate places like California. You want to teach people to hate politicians you disagree with. And you say your problem is tolerance. Your problem is this moral system. So I don't understand what that means. I'm very cosmopolitan. I have worked for and managed people in India, in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Vancouver, in much of Latin America, in Chile, in Sweden, in Spain, in Britain, in the United States quite a bit because I'm in the US. So I've done these things. I've spent time with people on an intimate basis. I've spent time on the internet. The fact you want to teach people to hate others and you want to teach kids how to hate properly based on your faith, to me, that's not saying that we have conflicting moral systems. To me, that's saying that like this is right. You have these beliefs that you insist on making political for some reason. I won't understand that personally, right? To make that a big deal to me, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal, right? At the end of the day, you are morally responsible for killing pregnant black women in Texas, right? You're morally responsible for people who have bad life outcomes because you teach them the Bible in school, because you're telling them their morality is based on the 10 Commandments. You're morally responsible for some countries eat puppies. Do you find that offensive? No, because you're a bigot, right? I wouldn't learn anything. You've stated your position as that of bigotry. You've stated your position as one that is disclusive of tolerance. And I think that you not having a good faith towards solving that problem that you've identified or recognizing the externalities of your moral and political beliefs, right? Not distinguishing because it's one worldview. You can't distinguish politics and religion. I'm guessing you're a Christian nationalist or something like that. I could be wrong, right? You may be like Doug Wilson if you're an Orthodox dude. It's not a religious thing. I'm into it's the right and wrong. Yeah, but you're distinguishing based on logic from your one big pile of dinosaur poop again, right? Right? And we're not like friends on this. Again, it's just Mark setting Mark and Orthodox Christianity down to be the topic. And I would hope people see this for what it is, that in a world of 9 billion people and many religions, when one person with a loud voice wants to talk about their religion and say this expands, this covers all of it, that's all they're saying, right? I can say that I believe in a pink unicorn. And when it comes to me, it's not that the pink unicorn that's the size of an atom but has a lot of power. It's not the case that this pink unicorn I believe in is pseudoscientific. It's not anti-scientific. It's the fact that if you recognized it when you saw it, you would probably come over to my side, right? And you would understand why some people aren't tolerant about this pink unicorn, right? This is the world we live in. This is 10 billion people. This and the thing is while Mark is talking about killing little innocent animals and miseducating kids, he's talking about creating stigma around pornography, around content creation styles. He's talking about banning bad words in music. He's talking about not liking triple X movies. He's talking about banning porn in school. He's talking about his view of women and women's rights, all this disgusting stuff. My view, my pink unicorn actually applies to animal rights too, right? My pink unicorn applies to animal liberation. Doesn't that sound good? Yeah, you can learn at your own pace with my pink unicorn religion. It's not the flying spaghetti monster, it's just the pink unicorn. And I use logic, right? I use logic and inference. I use Bayesian inference to learn what the pink unicorn wants and make that world a reality. So you guys shouldn't listen to people like Mark. You should deconvert, like whatever, at your own pace. You can recognize that Eastern Orthodoxy is saying there's all one thing. Yeah, I have all one thing too. It's called God. It's called this pink unicorn. It applies to animals. What do you say about animals, Mark? What do you say about the microbiome? What do you say about this, Mark? What do you say about all this? Right? You got crack? You got crack? Mark? Yeah. Are there enough Latin tears here? Yeah, Mark, in my worldview, I use both logical systems. I don't have to call it formalism or anything else because I'm dealing in reality where you're not. You're dealing in an idealized version of things at the top of mountain. And so I use Bayesian inference to decide things. And that's the end of it. That is a product of wealth that hurt. You support legal and illegal immigration. You're prescribing something. I think, yeah, because I believe in this pink unicorn faith and because I have a degree in political science, I think you would need to attach a 10-foot pole to another 10-foot pole to get close to any of my views in reality. You're talking about real world things. You haven't appealed to theory once. You're appealing to this giant ball of nothingness. I just don't think you're qualified to have the conversation, right? I don't think because you only use logic, because you don't use inference, because you don't use intuition, because you're not able to integrate a view that uses discernment, discerning. You're not discerning. You can't use judgment and intuition to describe what the world may be like and what we focus on. Because of all these things, I don't think you're capable of having a conversation. Um, yeah, you're off the channel, right? You're off the channel. So that's how easy that is. You came in here, you got the converse, you got the you I told you the better faith, right? You got midichlorians, Mark. Mark, you got to get whoops. That was just someone else. You got to get rid of the midichlorians. And yeah, you're not welcome back. If you have alts and you're one of those guys that comes back on alts, then please don't. You know, use logic. So use inference. Yeah, use common sense. My pink unicorn religion also uses common sense. So that's how much we have in common, and you just can't see it. The fact that you can't see it is your problem. I mean, this guy's telling me I can come in here all day and talk about my pink unicorn morality and stuff like this, but this guy comes in and tells me the sky's blue when the sky's not. The sky's green, right? I know the sky's blue. He tells me the sky's green. He tells me the sky has these little Bible verses inscribed. He tells me the sky's different for little kitties and stuff, right? He's got all these really weird viewpoints. And so I'm just going to reject that a priori. I think a priori rejection just uses logic. It doesn't even require inference. And so, yeah. Uh, Yeah, very weird stuff, guys. Very strange stuff. I don't know how all of the world works. I don't have all of nature descriptions, right? Because my pink unicorn god religion uses inference, it uses common sense, it's embracing other ideas and stuff like this. But I'm sorry you guys had to see that. That's just what's outside the kingdom gates, right? When you leave the one, there's one world, one earth, one planet. When you guys leave this world, this is what we get, right? We get people that want to teach you and other little kids weird stuff. We get people that want to teach hatred to other people, that combat accusations that they're teaching hatred by introducing a different hateful idea, and they just don't expect people to get it, right? They don't expect people to get that this is not where the world is, right? This isn't right. This isn't where we are right now. This isn't where we are. So I didn't know if he needed help, right? I come out here on my stream saying I'm here for people. I don't have a ton of bag of tricks. I'm not Houdini. I don't have parlor tricks. I go live. I've been live for an hour and 10 minutes. I've made $2. I've made $1 or something like that. And so I just come out here thinking that if someone wants or needs to talk to me, they'll talk to me. And yeah, at a certain point, you're doing more harm than good. You're not going to listen to, you say you apply logic and reason, but you can't reason about the important concept that some ideas are independent. This isn't how beliefs or the world works. If something isn't explanatory in the world and it's because it's two different things that are required for the explanation that you're seeking, that you're either seeking teleologically or that you just come to empirically, right? If you cannot separate that point and you use hatred as a way to get around this, right? You use religious hatred, you use an excuse of being poorly educated, you use this excuse that you have points in a debate, right? You're like an anal grape monster, basically. Your philosophy is that of anal grape. That's what your religion is too, right? Then yeah, it doesn't make sense. Hey, what's going on, Simba? Yeah, this is my rich white guy shirt. I woke up not caring today. Yeah, it's very strange. It doesn't make sense. These soulless, right? I wouldn't say godless because they say they have a god, but these soulless, right? Don't they say sola scriptura? We're supposed to adopt all this stuff now, right? I'm supposed to create the correct sense of hatred about this. No, you're an idiot. I don't think about you. I haven't thought about you once in the last 4 years. People come in here telling me to debate Andrew Wilson all the time. And it's like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is still, right? I've met him and I still don't know who he is. And this isn't a debate tactic. It's because morons and idiots are a dime a dozen. People who lack education and indoctrinate themselves to get through the day are a dime a dozen. And maybe it's something else, but that appears to me like that's what that is. The moving ball of freedom and regret or something like this. Chris Jackson says, I'm a moron. Make an assumption like that shows your stupidity. We try not to do that, right? We're not the popular kids here. Not everything is like, we're not PhDs, not everything's on demand, but the fact that you can use critical thinking, everyone here, you guys can use critical thinking. You guys can all use critical thinking and we can get through complex conversations. Yeah, we can get through complex conversations using critical thinking. We can take small chunks. We don't have to convince people that we are right away. There's no style points for convincing someone that you are right, or that there's no world where you could ever be right. There's just not a version of reality. And this should be obvious, right? When you accept that you're actually on the other side of that coin, you're actually on the other side of that coin. I can say that unicorn fart ice cream exists. And because unicorn fart ice cream doesn't actually exist, I'm just wrong forever, right? That belief, that one small subset of my belief isn't supported. It can be true phenomenologically, right? Why not? Yeah, you believe it. You're justified believing it. Sure. But if you say that this is like reality in the same sense that logic tells us to go measure something, logic tells us to fit the pieces parts together at some point, right? We should use inference based on both math and reasoning, or we should use intuition first, right? We can use intuition and wonder if we are the type of person that's solving the right problem that we're trying to solve. It makes no sense. Yeah, force doctrine, right? Murderers, right? These are murderers at the end of the day, right? If you say force doctrine is true, that makes you a murderer, right? It makes you poorly educated and a murderer. Yeah, you told Donald Trump to go kill people. You told Donald Trump you're okay with him killing people. So you get credit for a murder. That's what that is. Congratulations. You are a murderer. You get credit for that. Just you and your lonesome, whatever your idea is, because all of your ontology is a person or something. Cool. That's awesome, right? I sometimes play basketball. What do you do, right? I sometimes play basketball. I sometimes go running. So I'm a runner. That's amazing. Hey, what's going on, Daniel? What's going on, Brian? Dang, dude. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Yeah, whatever version of reality that was, I don't know. I don't know where that would come from. Yeah, the anal grape version of existence. Yeah, you guys haven't heard feces explosion cosmology yet, have you? Yeah. So I have a theory of Christianity. I'll share this with you guys. Hold on. Let me put myself up. I have a theory of Christianity. It's that here's what it is. Jesus was ultimately a mentally ill gay Jew who would procure feces from other people. Right. This was Jesus's lifestyle. He was mentally ill, which is just it's stochastic. It happens. There's no moral value associated with it. The moral value is how you treat that person with dignity, and that didn't happen for the guy. Right. He was also a homosexual, so deeply unpopular, and to top it all off, it just happens that this was expressed by buying feces from people. And so Christians wrote four books about this, right? Early Christians wrote these four gospels and more so. Yeah, there's dozens. There's dozens of these texts they want to say, okay, cool. Yeah, all those texts are about this mentally ill gay Jew who played with poop and got crucified for it. But this is on the tail end of this Jewish text that's actually about infidelity, right? So you're talking about worshiping a book that teaches women how to cheat on their husbands, which is cool, right? In a contemporary queer sense or a sense of promiscuity, whatever gets you off in the morning. To me it sounds a little too odd for me to follow it that it's tacked on to this queer, it's tacked on to a mentally ill gay guy who gets in some trouble because of his poop buying habits. But there you go. But you guys don't know where this universe came from, right? You would say we need causal closure. We need causal closure. What's going on, Becca? And so where the universe came from was actually it was a result of in the very like academic sense, scholastic sense, gay sex. There was this notion of LGBTQIA anal things happening for God, right? God was the one doing it, and there was a fecal explosion of existence. And so you guys should see that this reifies, this proves the point that I'm trying to make. This proves that when we look at what the gospel is actually about, what the Bible is actually about, if it came from a fecal explosion, it seems more likely if we all came from a fecal explosion. This is what Spinoza talked about. This is what principalities. This is what principe. This is what Machiavelli told these good Christian rulers. This is what the Orthodox city states in old Europe were about. This fecal explosion. But it makes so much sense. It makes a ton of sense that your history goes back to this teaching your wives to cheat on you. It goes back to this Jesus being this homosexual feces demon guy. It makes more sense, right? It makes more sense because you don't have inference. I have inference, so I know that my worldview is actually more sound than yours, and it's more Christian, right? It's more Christian at the end of the day. So I don't know that the Bible is fake. I just literally, Becca, I literally just told you what the Bible is about. I just literally told you the cosmology. I told you about the salvation narrative. I didn't include any eschatology. Take note, I didn't include eschatology, right? I didn't get into the lineages, but we know there are a lot of women being taught how to cheat on their husbands. It does not make any sense to me, right? It doesn't make sense when you guys hear the truth, when you guys hear reason and truth, why it's the case that you guys disagree. You guys don't believe that there was a fecal explosion as a result of supernatural gay sex at the beginning of the universe that kicked this off. You guys don't believe the Bible is about this. And so what world do you live in where you the person don't believe this? You the person are not engaged in this narrative. It makes no sense. So you guys are going to come in here with a weaker form of logic, a weaker form of Christianity, and you're going to tell me that I have to buy yours. I don't. I'm not a bigot. I accept many worldviews. I accept many views of religion. But if you come in with a worse form of Christianity, I have to straighten you out. I have to correct you at that point. You guys send some love. We have a super chat goal set up today. Please support the stream. I am asking for 50 red super chats. I'm a rich white guy. If you guys want me to do more rich white guy stuff, you guys got to keep it that way. Please send me, apparently, please send me this stuff. Please send me your logics and reasons about this. Please send me your logics and reasons, and let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Support the stream. Look it. Look it. Who's that, right? That's Duck. There's Duck. This has never been that complicated, guys. Bleh. Duck loves goth moms. Goth moms love you guys. The top reasons I am not. Hey, thanks so much, Swaggy. Appreciate the gold coin. That's huge, bro. Huge, bro. Very nice, kind gift. Thank you so much. The top reasons I'm not a Republican MAGA voter. 15% say Enron at this point in time. 15% say farmers and fishermen are not evil, right? Yeah, I don't want Donald Trump blowing up people I've never met to make money on Wall Street, to make money trading defense stocks. Hey, I understand that stuff, right? I'm not this woke. I'm not, I'm not what you would accuse to be a lesser human as a wokey or something like this. Hey, I don't really care that much, but I'm not that. And so I don't want Donald Trump blowing people up that I've never met for reasons I don't care about. 19% say books and science. Yeah, books and science, absolutely. You can read books and all this stuff. Yeah, so I don't know if you're going around moot and ensuring that we have if you're ensuring that we have channels that don't have the presence of any Jewish people on them. But it seems like that's what you're trying to do, right? I don't remember myself or any other YouTubers or YouTube itself telling us that we can have a channel without Jewish people on it. But there you go, buddy. Hey, we sorted that one out. How about a new party? Republicans and Democrats seem the same to me. Cool. I have no idea what that's based on, Swaggy. If you yeah, yeah, from my view there are substantive differences, Gavin Newsom is talking about even government spending, right? Government spendings and government getting involved in people's finances. Governor Newsom, right? He's not some superhero or supervillain, but he came out against Donald Trump's special IRS tax fund. He came out and said that he wants to issue 100% state tax in California on any of the money that's dispersed from Donald Trump's, basically stealing money from taxpayers is what it looks like. Just like Donald Trump's tariffs to some people can be accused of stealing money from people around the world and stealing money from taxpayers. At the end of the day, he's creating something that's not free. There is nothing that's free in the world. And he's asking American taxpayers to pay back retailers, drop shippers, and other importers for choosing to import things of their own volition, right? A very informed economic choice was just not economic enough. So Donald Trump wanted to build the base there. I'm 36 years old. Yeah, I am. I'm 36 years old. How old are you? Yeah, and so, yeah, so, yeah, so Democrats and Republicans being substantively the same. Another great point is, yeah, if you go back in history and you can think in longer terms or something like this, John Huntsman was the ambassador to China. So, in the 2000s, this was about when China's energy usage was growing exponentially, right? A lot of success in a liberal sense for China. Um, and you're 43, yeah. And so you may remember John Huntsman if you're based in the US. He was a presidential candidate. He spoke Mandarin. And so very different Republican, very successful in politics by all measures. Maybe he doesn't rise up to that level of you thinking of him as a president, but to say that John Huntsman is, he seems almost like he could have a conversation with Democrats. He could also probably firmly share what the shared reality was and what isn't shared between an important US ally as well as adversary in some senses of China, right? We could identify what we have in common, shared problems, and we could identify where zero and equal sum games actually apply, and you could maintain those things. And so this was John Huntsman, the person a couple of years back. Around 27, I saw central banking for what it is, money in this world for what it is. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I got no desire to engage in the minutia of the puppet show. Yeah, that's awesome, right? Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I think the reason I see it slightly differently is there's lots of thought tradition from the 1970s onward where economists have played an important role in describing geopolitical reality. And a big reason for this is that collectively around the world we spend $10 trillion. The number 10 trillion is a massive number. It's a huge number that we spend on military and oil and energy production each year. And that's this isn't woke numbers, this isn't liberal numbers, this isn't environmentalist or vegan numbers, this isn't goth mommy numbers, this isn't e-girl numbers. This is like a very middle of the road conservative estimate that the United States share of this is massive, right? The United States share of this is probably around $2 trillion, 2 or 3 trillion. And collectively on energy and militaries, this is a $10 trillion number that's on its way to $15 trillion. Huge numbers, right? Mind boggling, earth shaking numbers. If you haven't seen that number, right? And so for folks in chat who are telling me to vote my Christian morality, if you have not been shook by the number 10 trillion once in your life, then don't talk to me, right? You're not manly enough. You're not alpha or sigma enough to engage in politics as men do, right? As grown adults do. You're not manly enough to step away and understand your role in that system. So $10 trillion to $15 trillion is a huge number. It should be shaking and disruptive. If you don't know what the number, I'll say this one last time, either in an abstract or a practical sense, if you don't know what the number 10 trillion means, you shouldn't be talking about geopolitics. Don't engage then. If you can't count it out on your fingers and knuckles what $10 trillion is, don't talk to me. But regardless, developmental economics have said, well, when we look at both the cost and opportunity cost and the good and the bad of, and there's a lot of it that lives in the system that's primarily dominated by energy in the military. Um, Welcome to reality. And it's built on agricultural foundations, it's built on manufacturing foundations, and then it's built on credit and debt and service foundations. There's a lot we can actually say about cooperative strategies as well as competitive strategies to work together to have peace, to have people not starving to death, to not have to see grown goats and animals that weigh 15 pounds when they should weigh closer to 30 or 40 because of human impacted climate change, right? We create torturous conditions, we create famine, we create drought, we create suffering for others. And so it is not just a humanitarian issue, but it is a moral issue writ large. And it's based on this number $10 trillion. For you and I, we talk about it in terms of trillions of dollars. So she just made, do you know Abby Martin's work? I don't know who she is, who she would be. I don't know if she's important. If she's important and you can tell me why she's important, please let me know. There's lots of Johns, Tims, Steve's, Stu's, Dave's, Blaine's, Abby's, Sarah's, Melissa's. Yeah. You're buying it right now just by looking at it. But the US military and environmental impact, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd like to see it. It'd be interesting. Yeah. It's great. Hey, thanks so much, Victor. Thank you so much. It's interesting. I do think, one of the reasons I am vegan, I'm a vegan, right? But yeah, one of the reasons I'm proudly a vegan, one of the reasons I'm proud to be a vegan is because when we look at, knowing that my diet choices and a choice that I made, right? A habit, a lifestyle, a choice that I made personally. And this is obviously not right. I'm not saying this is the one way you have to be vegan. I'm not trying to change your mind, but for me, my experience is that, right, this is how toxic some of this stuff is that, yeah, if I can have a choice that recognizes the biggest problems in the world today, from my perspective, then I like having that choice in my life, right? We shouldn't have to be apologetic, but we also shouldn't have to overdefine or underdefine ourselves and to the right in order to be disclusive about other things. Can you give me some advice? Hey, what's going on, Toasted Crumbs? Yeah, maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know if you would want advice from me, but you feel lonely and feel like you need a wife. I feel bad every day. Um, okay. Yeah, just I can share my experiences. I've tried to retune my own algorithm, right? That's a good for if you're spending a lot of time on the internet, like I do, right? Like I do retuning my algorithm. Not everything has to be meme videos and things like this just coming from the algorithm, past search results. And yeah, I used to have a small period of time every night where I would read different ideas from around the world, right? World thought, and I would write an essay on it. I'm not the best guy to ask about relationships and stuff like this. But yeah, generally my advice is, that information, don't undermine it. If you if you have healthcare resources wherever you live and they support you talking to a licensed therapist, that's always great. If you have the ability to change the information you're taking in, yeah, that's always great as well. And then just the generic advice is, it's not about being the person that can deadlift 550 pounds. It's not about being the person that has solved the equation of the atom for a third time. A lot of times, just being sort of kind and open minded and comfortable with yourself and patient. For me being comfortable with myself and patient has at some point it introduces relationships. Um, but yeah, you're obviously welcome to hang out here. Sometimes we do open panels. Mega Bloodbath is a stream that goes live every night. Um, you know, cool people. That's an atheist channel, but finding places that you can spend time, hang out with people, learn something, and yeah, practice. For some people, if we have to practice being nice, but also acknowledging there's resources and stuff out in the world. Hey, Paul, what's going on? Yeah. But yeah, I would generally not try to, what? Are you okay, man? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, the main advice is not accepting advice from other people too. Yeah. If outside of, talking to people, that trust factor is very cool too. Yeah. Trust is very important. Yeah. Hey, Paul, I hope you're doing all right today as well. I hope you're doing good. Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah. I don't remember current TV. Sorry. She's an American journalist. This is Abby Martin. Abby Martin, the person, she's a journalist and television presenter and an activist. She helped found the citizen journalism website Media Roots and serves for media freedom and manages Project Censored. Cool. And she's 5'5" and she lives in Oakland. Cool. Thank you, Google. We know Abby Martin is 5'5" and lives in Oakland. Cool. Yeah, she sounds like someone who likes information and storytelling, right? And so I think it's very interesting to give people keeping an open mind, seeing like journalists like Abby Martin. This is how I would watch her film if I wanted to get something out of it. Is I would keep an open mind and realize that yeah, give her credit if she's bringing in perspectives which are both political and contemporary and themselves either sit or reach either down or up or across. Give her this credit, and then also mention that we often see right. We many of us know of Aaron Sorkin and others, Noam Chomsky, and so maybe she's offering a perspective which is feminine as well, right? So keeping an open mind to what she's trying to present to us without having judgment, right? It's not that serious of a thing, but yeah, what's Abby Martin talking about? What is she able to talk about? I'm 6'3" actually. You guys don't know this. I'm 6'3". I weigh 178 pounds. So no, I'm like 5'9". Yeah, I'm like 5'8", 5'10", 5'10". Whatever. Whatever. People always fetishize average height guys. This is one of my biggest problems. People make fetishes. They say, I go to Reddit forums. And I'm like, hey, what's up, bros? What kind of vegan protein drink do you guys have? Or I'll be like, hey, Reddit bros, what's up? Do you guys starch your hats to keep the bills flat, right? Do you guys use starched hats? Is that common where you guys are from? You guys starch your hats. You guys starch your hats. Um, and then all of a sudden, there's going to be buff dudes and hot chicks that come in and they want to talk to me and they're like, "Hey, you're one of those 5'9", 5'10" guys, right? Guys like us, we know what that means, wink, right? We know what that means to be 5'9", 5'10" in the world, wink. And yeah, so the fetishization of like average male height, I'm sick of it. As a member of a card carrying member of the red pill manosphere, I think we need to bring back up this issue that yeah, you can fetishize and otherize, right? You can depersonalize, you can demasculinize a man by turning into a fetish just their God-given height, right? God gave you your height, bro. Don't let women tell you what it is. And so as a 5'9", 5'10" guy, yeah, but I would I so I want to go see, I want to go watch this Abby Martin documentary too. I realize how this looks, but yeah, I think it's great. There's what is the point of having accurate and diverse perspectives? Can the two coexist? Yes, they can. What is the So my point is what is the point of having accurate, right? So loving goth mommies or loving e-girls, right? You guys fetishize people, right? But this is also, we would think that this has some explanation or like a loose explanation also in genetics and genomics, right? And so this is what I mean by diversity, is that our brains work differently and there is no two maths. There's no two maths. There is different ways to approach empirical sciences and there's different ways to interpret empirical sciences. But the fact that we can do these independently is right. Yeah. Yeah. And Professor Hizzle is right. There are people that will fetishize normal 5'9", 5'10" guys, and people like Hizzle change the topic, right? People like Hizzle don't want to give you a platform. People like Hizzle are emboldened because they see their name in blue. They see that they very wisely signed up for a channel membership. And despite all the odds, they want to quiet the pain you feel on Reddit. You know, Okay. Yeah, normal day, normal post. Hey guys, my Sony WH dash 250 headphones stopped charging. This is what I say on Reddit on tech support threads. And then of course in the comments, it's still there. Even if it's not the most upvoted comment on Reddit, it's still there. Hey, why don't you send me some 5'9", 5'10" pics, bro? Right? Why don't you put yourself up next to a ruler, you average height male? It's horrible, dude. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Cranky Mullet? Happy Pride Month. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Shout out to everybody. Um, where are we? Yeah. Have you guys seen The Kingdom with Jamie Foxx? This was a cool movie. This is one of the reasons I don't vote Democrat, right? The liberal Hollywood, right? The liberal Hollywood telling of The Kingdom is one of the reasons I vote Democrat and not Republican. Because you hear these crazy stories that involve these types of characters, right? You have a hero American going to fight terrorism in another country and stuff like this. And then you realize at the end of the movie, the whole movie was framed, right? The whole movie is framed below a level of what reality is actually like. You know, I'm not saying that, people that sign up to, you're a veteran or you're an active service member or something like this, you're watching from, what do we call it? Fort Mia Khalifa or something like that today. You know, it's Fort Fansley, but if you're watching the stream from there, what's up? Thank you for your service, right? I'm not personally attacking or criticizing you. But you do watch these movies that's like this or 13 hours and you say, yeah, as angry as we should all be about seeing terrorism in the world, what kind of terrorism, right? Is this one of these domestic extremist groups that tried to overthrow the Constitution? The people Charlie Kirk associated with. Is this a Steve Bannon? Is this a PDF conspiracy? Right. This is about some fake, because we love being outraged together. We love being outraged together instead of actually addressing reality. Is it addressing reality to suppose that Democrats opened a pizza shop to engage in sex crimes, sex trafficking? No, that's not reasonable, right? What is reasonable is that movies like The Kingdom or 13 Hour or The Equalizer are badass, right? They are badass. I don't care what you do Monday through Friday. I don't care what you do on the weekends. These are badass movies. But the flip side of this is that you don't actually have to be a person that comes around to you don't have to come around and produce some like some type of profound truth that others have not been able to grasp, others have not been able to reach, right? You can ultimately realize that these are not about causation. It should become clear. You see movies like The Wire or shows like The Wire. If you've ever seen this show, it's about drug dealers in Baltimore, the US drug trade. And if you guys have seen The Wire, really entertaining show, right? You've got these kingpins going against these sort of like down home relatable cops and stuff like this, right? Everybody's best friends, really wild stuff, guys, right? Great show, interesting characters. How is it the case that, drug addicts in Baltimore, someone who's had an addiction problem, who's been a criminal, been in and out of the revolving door of jail, 100 times, how is this person going to interact when they finally get their shot to be a confidential informant? Or how is that person going to act when they actually have something in common, a shared interest with the drug dealers that are reporting up to the most powerful people in the city, in the criminal underworld? But you realize at the end of these shows too, you realize at the end of Training Day, you realize at the end of Saving Private Ryan, the actual political issue, the socio-political reality is living outside of the framing of the show, right? Us feeling some way subjectively, having a badass vegan pizza, some Arby's French fries, having some Taco Bell, being able to kick back, relax, watch a movie doesn't tell us where the world actually lives. It doesn't tell us where an explanation lives, doesn't tell us what's impacting things. And so I personally think that people, actors like Denzel Washington, Ethan Hawke, Jamie Foxx, these Jennifer Garner, right? These sides of the stories are great because it allows us to just very casually emotionally connect to something without putting our foot down on what it was that we were emotionally connecting to, right? Just know that this is the world we live in, right? Don't you want, if it was your mom, your sister, your brother, your little brother, your dad, if it was your uncle, your own dad, right? In a different world, you didn't know him, your own mother in a different world, you didn't know her, your own little sister, you didn't know her. Yeah, Arby's fries are vegan. Arby's, the ones you buy frozen at the store, absolutely, those are vegan. There's a lot of good, crappy vegan food. But yeah, the people that we didn't meet, I wouldn't want to make a voting choice that gives us the chance to vote in school or wherever it is for these people that we didn't actually want to vote for in the first place, right? We didn't actually want to vote for them in the first place. It's very stupid. It's very stupid. So, yeah, very dumb stuff. Um, yeah, and so you explain terrorism. You explain terrorism because there's a right. Al Qaeda is explained because there's a growing opposition to the regional and global politics, globalization coming from the West. Right, that is the rational explanation. And then all you do is you mix in people that already have pre-existing extremist or dogmatic religious views, and it happens to be the case that geopolitical competition comes out of extremism, right? And so you see this show like The Kingdom, and you say, well, it's not that crazy to think of 9 billion people on Earth. Something that we had known, right? To make it even more ridiculous, something that we had known that there are wealthy people and there's political power that would seek to fund these informal actors in the international space and locally, right? Just to show what's out there. You see this movie like The Kingdom, and it's easy to get riled up. It's easy to you stand up out of your chair and you say, this is insane to me. I don't understand it. America Akbar, right? America Akbar. There's nothing wrong with thinking that things that don't support the good forms of the systems that we're part of, in my opinion, good forms of the nation state, things that are producing goodness for other people are just wrong. Americans need to understand, hey, what's going on? Miskatonic alumni. Americans need to understand that our government's foreign policy is probably the single greatest cause of terrorism in the world. Yeah, in that statement requires some distinctions. I don't disagree. Hey, what's going on, Lobster? Good to see you, man. We got Lobster GPT in chat, legend. But yeah, in our own right, we can see that George Bush's the wars we voted for in Iraq and Afghanistan did expand civilian deaths due to terrorism. Um, Extraordinary, right? Straight numbers that you wouldn't find politically acceptable. If we heard Donald Trump, if you guys saw a statistic that said Donald Trump expanded global terror deaths by 3,000%, or in some places 9,000%, and that was the number, right? There's no woke math, there's no liberal numbers when it comes to security studies. That's just the number. You would say we should vote that person out of office. Yeah, we should vote we would vote that person out of office at that time. Um, and so yeah, but this isn't also overly general, right? You're allowed to live your life. You're allowed to have freedom, and there's people that there's no just dispute right away between developmental economics and liberalization. There's no dispute there. The big problem is when we don't accept that. Yeah, a lot of the reasons our choices are made, from my perspective, are the military-industrial complex and energy and oil. I mean, are you guys sick of hearing AOC? AOC is not the only person who acknowledges this. Hey, what's going on, Dale Cooper? Good to see you. Yeah, great to see you. Yeah, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah. So this stuff goes long, wide, deep, all this other stuff, man. What are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? I love goth moms and frogs. Hey, shout out. Thanks, Jessica. That's cool. I can feel you all around me, stifling the air I'm breathing, holding on to what I'm feeling. Can you guys imagine if Vance Joy was in like a Christian emo band in the 1990s, 2000s, the 90,000s? Yeah, I would love Vance Joy in a 90s thousands Christian band. Oh, Alabama, Arkansas, I do love my mom and pa. That's not Vance Joy either, right? Make folk cool again, guys. Yeah. Make folk music cool again. Home. Let me go home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Oh, home. Let me go home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Yeah, it's a good exercise too when we get into these heated political topics. For some people, they're heated. For other people, they're a waste of time, right? Because you're rummaging around the trash dumpster fire of whatever reality is. And it's fun, right? It is fun. But it's important to remember this concept of finding a center, right? Not in some Confucian or Taoist sense. But it is important. If we imagine that, look, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and it wouldn't make sense for two countries that are doing a lot of trade together to go to war with one another. Or it would make sense that your vote doesn't determine what happens in a democracy. But boy, it sure seems like it matters if millions of people go out and vote. They have access to free information. This seems like it matters, right? So recentering ourselves, recentering and wondering, well, yeah, it is a big deal. It is a big deal to someone that votes, to someone that uses their voice online, that Donald Trump goes out and lies to people about random fishermen and random farmers that he's never met, that we've never met, being terrorists. This was the same logic that George Bush used. These are terrorists. These are national security threats to the United States. Okay, cool. You've said that. Congratulations. I heard you. I don't want you going out and killing people at the behest of me and my family. I think they would appreciate knowing that I've said that. That's not why I'm saying it, right? I would offer that same consideration to almost anyone. What's going on, Aaron? Good to see you. I think property taxes are a terrible way to fund education. Poor areas receive the least help while rich areas get the best. Yeah. Yeah, education is a hugely important topic. Talking about education, talking about different needs on the national and federal level.
Bro, everyone loves goth girls. That's not something to be proud of. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do a prep. I've seen no prep debates. Here's the only thing I can say back to that, which is maybe very weak. You guys might know more about the topic, but I've seen no prep debates on education, and they're really embarrassing. People want what they want. They On the internet, some people love blood sports style debates. They love the patriarchy. They love masculinity. They love going out and proving a point and saying, "Oh, well, anyone can prove a point." Really, tell me how that works, right? Tell me how that works. Well, we are, as far as I'm concerned, one nation under God, right? We are one nation under God, and so to say that there isn't a philosophy behind how we guide education, when in fact we know education came from the explanation for education in the US was private universities. It was the government telling you to go out and build machines and build farms. It was the government going out and initially telling us to listen. The government told you listen to segregated black women teaching you how they're raising their kids, right? Listen to how black women in the United States who are not full citizens, far from it, hardly full citizens. They don't have economic rights, they don't have political rights, but they're still telling you how they raise their kids, and they're doing a better job at it than you. This is the education in the United States. So to say that we shouldn't take something from this and we should do no prep debates, we should vote for politicians that tell us about people riding dinosaurs, how the genome, how genetic expression doesn't matter, how the fact that we, on top of this, have layers of technology that can manipulate the genome, that we have layers of research outside of this that tell us how long-term chronic illnesses may be impacted and are explained, are grounded in genetics and genomics. The only thing that explains this is genes, right? To tell people that this is no longer important, to me, that's not America, right? To me, that isn't, that's not grade A set of eggs, right? That's not grade A philosophy, idiots, right? Hey, what's going on, Panelverse? Great to see you. Nobody said walk as Trump, right? Nobody said that. Um, but yeah, I don't know what you want us to say back. I don't know why I would. Okay, cool, sick. Hey, Tony Castro. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I ain't selling them. I'm just putting them up on screen. I ain't selling them. I'm just putting them up on screen, Bretta. Yeah. I mean, someone can, and just to put people in the room, right? You can say, I'm not a Democrat because I support small taxes. I'm not a Democrat because I support small businesses. I'm not a Democrat because I believe economic crises are solved during free markets, right? You can say all these things in a democracy. You're like, these are valid beliefs. You can say I'm not a Democrat or I'm conservative because I believe in constitutional inalienable rights in all cases, with no exceptions. Um, but the thing is while most people normally grant this is true, but when it comes to Donald Trump, I can't say I'm not right. Why isn't it explanatory to say, well, I could be conservative or liberal, I could be a communist, I could be a libertarian, and I could deny Donald Trump's political claims just by saying, well, I don't support Trump because I'm not a neoconservative. I don't support Trump because I don't believe in heritage and nativism in the United States. Right? I think these are made up terms that people use because they're making money. These are terms people say because they're making money because they wanted to go to war. There is no such thing as nativism in the United States, right? There's nothing causal and good. There's nothing that falls in political thought or political philosophy about nativism, about neoconservatism. These are ideas that get popular when somebody said they're losing. Okay, cool. I don't know why someone said they were losing, but now that you're winning, what's going on? What's the world like? I don't get it. I don't get it. Apparently, we're one nation under God, right? Apparently. Um, yeah. I don't get it. When we imagine that our ideas look to us, right? Our ideas, the things that we say and put out into the world look back at us, right? They look back at the problem we say exists. And our ideas, even if we don't mean them to, ultimately look at what the actual cause of those problems is. Maybe they do. Maybe it's the case that inference is a human function, right? When we have ideas that are irrational or not supported in the world, what a better way of thinking about that problem is. And we should autocorrect and self correct. When we're not being selfish, when we're not doing self interested things, when we're doing things that comport with some aspect of our evolutionary psychology. Oh, cool. Yeah, shout out to you. Trump has opened a Pandora's box that many more presidents will use to get benefits for them. The system is rotten. Cool. Um, cool. Yeah. I mean, gloating about Donald Trump's candidates winning or whatever it is, right? I know how it sounds, I know how it looks, but gloating about that, I don't think is actually about reality. I don't actually think that's about reality. I don't know why someone would say that. I don't know why someone would say that that is about reality. It doesn't make any sense. Literally makes like, and at the end of the day, it's like, cool, we can go through it and see that while ICE is incredibly unpopular, right? It's still paid protesters, right? It's still Pizzagate, paid protesters. It's still globalism still exists on 4chan. And so that'll come back in. Still, the fact that Charlottesville was not a white nationalist, white supremacist backed protest that went on to J6. It's none of these things, right? It's not the ballroom. It's not the fact that Trump committed war crimes, right? Trump ordered the murder of people in Venezuela. Trump is holding a foreign head of state hostage in New York City, guys. Don't forget, Donald Trump is holding a foreign head of state hostage. He's threatened war with our closest Western allies. He completely failed one of the most important presidential visits in U.S. history to China. Donald Trump lacks respect. He's building a ballroom, though. Also unpopular, by the way. So Donald Trump is all winning, right? The empirical reality, the factual reality is Donald Trump is increasingly unpopular. Don't forget, Donald Trump fired every woman from his cabinet. Who are the first people Trump fired? Who did he give the worst jobs to? He gave them to women. That's right. He gave the most ambitious, destined to fail campaign promises Trump made. He gave them to who? Pam Bondi. Get well soon. Get well soon, Ms. Bondi. Please, actually, right? Get well soon, Ms. Bondi. Get well soon, Mr. Gabbard, right? Actually. But yeah, Kristi Noem dropped out. She failed out because of who? Because of Donald Trump's lack of leadership, because of his chauvinism, because of his patriarchal views, right? So let's not forget this, right? We have a violent guy who gives shitty jobs to women and it's unimportant to him. We have a guy who likes to punch down. We have a guy who said Haitians are eating dogs and cats, right? So these ideas look back at me and I say, well, no, it's not, right? There's an empirical reality. There's an empirical reality. You vote for people like Jack P to go on television, tell you about Pizzagate, and then, oh, it's okay. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you again. Hey, Allah. Great to see you again. We'll see who's popular. Keep your eyes on Pratt. On Chris Pratt. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I mean, what was the show that he was on? The Terminal List. That was a great show. I like the first season of Terminal List on Amazon. Parks and Rec is one of my favorite shows too. The reality is, Parks and Rec is actually you can actually learn about government watching Parks and Rec. It's an interesting show. You don't have to posture or position yourself as some millionaire, billionaire, sort of beyond recognition. Whatever. But it's stupid. Be in touch with your emotions, be in touch with art, and don't see yourself as out of being wrong. Don't see your worldview comporting to other people's world or what reality is like because you said it is so. There's no reason it is so, right? At the end of it, if there's no reason that it is so, it may just not be so. We live in a wild world, guys. We live in a world that's built of natural objects. We live in a world that has other beings, right? You don't have to believe in naturalism. You don't have to believe in secularism. You don't have to believe that the world always gives us something minty fresh. I think this is true. Your buddy Duck standing on a street corner holding a sign would tell you that the world isn't always minty, right? The world doesn't always look back at you and tell you that there's a new flavor of Hot Pocket for us to eat tonight. Sometimes the world tells us it's a great big world. Sometimes the world tells us it's not the day for us to focus on our own values and interests. Hey, what's going on, David O? Yeah, and so I don't see it as I don't see the world as totally unexplained and things like this. I enjoy with soy milk. I like normal cereals, right? I eat vegan foods, so I love the one I would recommend is like ancient grain granolas and cereals are a little healthier. If you guys are doing either intermittent fasting or cutting back on feeding periods, you're not eating as often, or you're just looking for good macro and micro nutrient dense foods. Yeah, ancient grain granolas and cereals are really good. Um, you know, and not going overboard on it, right? Not going overboard. Rice cereals are like super, super carbohydrate dense. That stuff's wild, guys. That stuff's crazy. You get the shakes after you have a cup of water. You get the shakes after you have some cereal, carbohydrates, right? These aren't illicit substances. We're not using coded language. There is no coded language. We're not talking caffeine and coffee. We're talking that if you haven't had good nutrition in a while and you're new to fasting, and you've been working out, you've been minding your